One more shot. And one more positioning. You are so close to win a match. But then this happens. Extremely painful, right? In today's video, I'm going to show you 10 very common situations where very often players have difficulties to find best solution, what causes unexpected problems. During each scenario, I will show you few good options explaining which of them is best to choose in a given situation, as well as what spin and speed I am using on the cue ball. I am absolutely sure that this video will be a game changer for you, so you can't miss it. Let's go! We need to start with this common situation where 9 ball is located in center point of the table and we face a shot with some angle. First, the very obvious solution is to hit the cue ball with bit of topspin and make position for the 9 ball to the left side pocket. But sometimes players have difficulties to find correct speed, so in this case we need to use more speed and touch of left spin. Cue ball lands in similar area, but because we use two rails, then speed control is much better. We can also place the cue ball on the left side of the table by applying top right spin, but this time we need to be very careful because more inside spin can cause unexpected mistake, so in my opinion you should avoid this option. And actually there is one more option where we need to apply a bit of low left spin and use two rails to land on the left side again. In my opinion, you should choose between second and last option depending on what type of positioning you feel better. Going forward, we face shot with some angle towards same side of the table again, but this time 9 ball is located on the left side of the table, very close to long rail. First solution requires from us to execute smooth draw shot with touch of left spin, and after contact with one rail, we can produce perfect position for the 9 ball. We can make position for the 9 ball in similar area using only short rail, but this shot requires applying a lot of right spin, what increases difficulty and causes high risk that we can miss this ball. To avoid this problem, we can consider third option, where this time we need to hit the cue ball with center left spin using not too much speed to, after contact with two rails, land in similar area again. And actually, I can see only one more option, where this time we need to apply a bit of top left spin and relatively high speed to let the cue ball to use more rails and go for the 9 ball around the table. In my opinion, you should use third option because it gives very safe path and you can very easily control speed of this attempt. We need to face third extremely common scenario where this time we have very small angle and we need to transfer the cue ball to the right side of the table for the 9 ball. First, the very obvious solution which I can see among players is to hit the cue ball slightly below its center and use very high speed to go for the 9 ball contacting only one rail. During this shot, we need to slightly cheat the pocket, what in some cases can result with very painful mistake. To avoid this problem, you can use second option, where this time we need to apply a lot of topspin and hit the cue ball with very smooth stroke. During this shot we use two rails, but we need to be very careful because there is some risk that we can scratch inside pocket. To reduce all of these problems, we need to consider last option, where this time we need to execute smooth draw shot with bit of right spin to go for the 9 ball using three rails. This shot requires high quality stroke, but in my opinion gives highest benefit, so in this case you should consider it as the most promising one. In fourth scenario, we face easy looking cut shot and positioning for the 9 ball, which is located on the left side of the table, very close to the long rail. During first solution, we need to hit the cue ball with bit of left spin to change its natural path and avoid contacting 9 ball, what result with pretty nice position. We can also place the cue ball in the bottom side of the table, but this time we need to apply a bit of right spin and use very low speed. I'm not a fan of this type of shots because slow rolling balls highly increases risk that we can misjudge contact and miss this shot, or completely lost position for the 9 ball. So in this case you can consider last option, where this time we are hitting the cue ball with a lot of right spin, using much more confident stroke. After this hit, we let the cue ball to use more rails and go for the 9 ball using very safe path from the back. However, in my opinion, you should consider first type of positioning, because we can very easily control cue ball's path and speed of this shot. We need to discover this very interesting and common scenario where we have to put object ball into the bottom left corner, while 9 ball is located in the middle of top short rail. First option which I can recommend is to apply top spin with touch of right, and after contact with two rails, we can land in the right side of the table. We can also land on the left side of the table, but this time we need to apply left spin. Both of these options are not easy to control, so in this case we can use another solution, where this time we need to execute deep draw shot with touch of left spin, because then cue ball lands on the left side of the table, using both long rails. And actually, I can see only one more option, where we need to hit the cue ball with bit of center right spin and relatively high speed to, after contact with four rails, land on the right side of the table. This option is most difficult, so in my opinion, to increase speed control and possible benefit, you should consider third solution. Looking for another common situations, we can find this scenario where 9 ball is located in center point of the table and we face a shot with angle towards bottom side of the table. First, very obvious shot requires from us to hit the cue ball slightly below its center with not too much speed to land on the left side of the table using two rails. We can also land on the right side of the table, but this time we need to hit the cue ball much lower and apply a bit of left spin. If you want to use long rail first, then after hitting the cue ball with bit of top left spin, we can guide it to the right side of the table using three rails. And there is last option of positioning, where we use three rails again, but this time we need to use only top spin, because then cue ball going to the left side of the table. This is difficult to choose best option, but in my opinion second solution has very nice feeling and gives comfortable and safe path with pretty good benefit. Let's look at this extremely common scenario where object ball is located on head spot while 9 ball is on the foot spot. We face some angle towards top half of the table, and in first solution we need to use bit of top left spin and two rails to land on the left side of the table with perfect position for the 9 ball. We can also land on the right side of the table using only one rail, but this shot requires applying high amount of right spin, what highly increases difficulty of this shot. So in this case, to avoid this risk and follow safe path, you can use last option, where this time our goal is to apply a bit of center left spin and not too much speed to cause the cue ball to use two rails and land on the right side of the table again. During this option, it is very difficult to control speed, so in this case, in my opinion, you should choose first option as the easiest and most promising one. Going forward, we need to see this interesting situation where we face non-obvious shot and positioning. We can actually pot 4-ball into the side pocket, but we need to use very low speed, what result with not easy shot on the 9-ball. If we try to play a bit harder, then there is high chance that you miss this ball and give table to your opponents. So in this case, we need to pot object ball into the bottom left corner, and by applying only center ball and medium speed, we can produce pretty good position for the 9-ball contacting both long rails. If you don't feel this type of shot, then you should consider this option where we need to execute smooth draw shot with bit of right spin to go for the 9-ball from the back using 3 rails. But if this shot is still too difficult for you, then you can use last solution where our goal is to apply a bit of top left spin and use both long rails again, but this time land in the bottom side of the table for the 9-ball to the left side pocket. Each of these shots are not very easy to execute, but in my opinion second option is best to control, where we follow very safe path. During ninth scenario, we experience extremely uncomfortable and thin cut shot where 9-ball is located very close to the object ball and close to long rail. This shot is not easy because we can very easily hit it too thick, but we can actually use natural path and hit the cue ball at the center. Crucial during this attempt will be speed control to avoid leaving the cue ball too high. If you want to be much closer to the 9-ball, then you need to hit the cue ball very low with a lot of right spin, because this spin dramatically changes path after contact with short rail, what result with pretty good position for the 9-ball. This option is very difficult to execute, and actually we can cut object ball into the bottom left corner, and with only touch of right spin and medium speed, cue ball touches both long rails and lands in perfect position for the 9-ball. Because first two options are very difficult to control, then in my opinion you should choose last option as the most promising one. To close this episode, we need to face this another very interesting scenario, where many players may have problem to find best solution. This situation is very uncomfortable because if you try to pot object ball into the bottom left corner, then cue ball going towards bottom right corner. So in this case we can use natural path, but this time pot object ball into the bottom right corner, because then cue ball after contact with 2 or 3 rails makes position for the 9-ball to the top right corner. We can also send the cue ball to the top half of the table, and in following solution we need to pot object ball into the bottom left corner and apply a lot of center left spin. Cue ball makes a contact with 2 rails, but left spin dramatically changes its path, what result with comfortable position for the 9-ball. We can place the cue ball in the bottom side of the table again, but this time we need to hit it with bit of low left spin and high speed. However, during this option we can very easily misjudge amount of spin and speed, so in this case you can consider next option, where this time we need to apply a bit of center right spin at medium speed to cause the cue ball to use 3 or 4 rails during positioning. During this option we face very high risk that we can leave the cue ball very high or miss object ball, so in this case I have for you last solution, where we need to pot object ball into the bottom right corner again, but this time execute deep and smooth draw shot with bit of right spin. This option is actually very promising because we use very safe path, but due to high amount of side spin we face higher deflection, so in my opinion you should choose first attempt and natural positioning to increase speed control and possible benefit. Another episode and another bunch of extremely common shots, where I tried to show you some good options to choose from. So in this case, if you appreciate my effort to produce this video, then you can make awesome thing and leave a thumbs up for me, as well as subscribe to my channel, because then you never miss my new videos. Thank you very much for watching and each kind of your support to build my channel. And of course, I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.